you need to have my attention. Before you can launch any kind of campaign, whether it's a marketing campaign, a communications campaign, you need to have my attention. Before you can spread the gospel, before you can tell me about Jesus, before you can ask me to do Bible studies with you, you need to have my attention. It doesn't matter what. Before you can do anything that involves another person, you need to have that person's attention. So the most important asset that we have in the digital world is attention. And that's going to be important to note as we proceed through this presentation. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Right now, I want you to, everyone who's on the webinar, listening to me, just pull out your phone if you're not using the phone, and take a look at how many social media apps you actually have on there. The average human have between 4 and 6 different social media apps on their phones currently. So what does that mean? It means that if we are to capture people's attention, if we are to, in any way, shape, or form, get someone's attention, we need to know where that attention is. And today, especially with the whole takeover of the digital world, we know in the past what we had in the past was a situation where print media dominated the media landscape, and then we had radio coming in, and radio not not getting rid of print media, but totally disrupting it. And then the TV came in and disrupted the radio, and then now we have internet and social media disrupting everything. So understanding that, we know that today, especially, people's attention are online. People's attention are on one of 4, 5, 6 different social media platforms that exist today. Now, what exactly is social media? To me, social media is the collection of apps and websites, different platforms that allows people to connect, engage, and build relationships online. Next slide, please. There are 3 mistakes that I see churches making online all the time. And the first one being, one, they do not respect social media enough. All you find is, in many churches, you will hear people making statements such as, well, social media, that's for those young people, and that's where those young people go to waste time. And we don't need to be on there. All we need is to have our traditional platforms, our traditional media, whatever it is. No one is willing to engage and embrace social media. And because you do not respect social media enough, then you do not see anybody making any kind of strategic investment in any of the social media platforms that we have today. The second one is providing value. We don't see our churches, those who actually decide, you know what, we are going to respect social media, so we are going to use it. They do not provide value. When I say we'll talk about more what value means and what value is. But the truth is, what we find happening is, when you post a Bible verse online, or you share a live, and that's all you do 24/7 on social media, on your different platforms, that's not exactly providing value. We'll talk more about content as we proceed. And the next piece is, churches do not take a strategic approach towards social media. And I think that one is the big one, because I will talk more about this, but what you will find happening is, uh, people do not look at, who are we trying to reach online? What message should we be putting out? What should be our narrative? You just find one blanket message going out online on the Facebook page or on the Instagram, that's supposed to be for everybody. The truth is, just like in the church, just like in our church pews, we have people at different stages in their journey. And it's the same thing on social media. We have different people at different stages in their journey, and we need to be putting out content. We need to be speaking in a voice that is tailored to one of the many different audience that we could be speaking to. The next slide, please. So how do you win? How do you win? Pretty much how you win with social media is take everything that I just said and flip it on its head. One, you have to respect social media. Two, you have to respect the context of the platform that you are on. What do I mean by that is understanding that Instagram is not Facebook, and Facebook is not Twitter, and Twitter is not TikTok. These are all different platforms. And even though you might be the same person on all the platforms, when you are on the different platforms, your state of mind tends to be a little bit different. It's the same thing in real life. When you're in the church, you're expected to behave in a particular way that's different than, let's say, when you're on during the when you're at work, or when you're maybe hanging out in the park with your friends playing sport. So we are the same people, but our behavior is different. The same thing on the different platforms. For example, something as simple as understanding that we have intent-based platforms and we have interest-based platforms is a huge will make a huge difference for us. Intent-based platforms like Google and YouTube, these are platforms where people go to find something, to do something. So when we go on Google to find something. You know, how to do X, or what is the meaning of Y. We go on YouTube and we deliberately search for a particular song or a particular training or a particular how-to video. So these are intent-based platforms because we go there with an intent to do something. As it relates to our interest-based platforms, these are platforms like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, where we do not go with any particular thing in mind. We just go to scroll through and look and see if there's anything on there that will interest us in particular. That's why it's called interest-based platform. So understanding that we need to respect the context of the platform that we're on is huge. And we'll talk a little bit more about the different platforms in a minute. And then providing value. Providing value. What do I mean by that? I spoke about that before. What I mean is you need to be providing content that people want. Content, not content that you feel you want to put out there, but content that people actually want to see, people want to engage with. Next slide, please. So we'll now take a look into a strategic approach towards our social media, our social media actions online. Our goals. What are our goals as relates to what we would like on social? And this one is very important because one of the biggest problems I find with people's use of social media, and that includes whether it's the church, whether it's the business world, it doesn't matter. What is number one is not start social media with a goal in mind. There's no goal in mind, and that's a huge mistake that somebody can you confirm if you're here better now? Just confirm that I hear you. Are people hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you now. You went low a while ago.
Oh, I went low for a bit. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, great. So let's continue. So the first thing that we want to look at, like I said, for being online. And if the church doesn't have a goal for being online, then maybe it should not be online. Because there's no need to be online if you're not trying to achieve something in particular. And goals should be specific, right? So rather than say we want a greater online presence, for example, you might say we want at least 50% of our congregation to be part of our Facebook group by December, for instance. Many of us might know about the famous SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely. And your goals should also reflect the overall vision of the church. That's very important. The goal should reflect the overall vision of the church. The next piece I want us to be mindful of is understanding our social media KPIs, or the key performance indicators. And just to check, are you able to move the slide along? Right. Someone's news feed 50 times, 100 times, then that's 100 impression or 50 impression. Now, that does not mean that the person actually engaged with your content, right? So I might see something in my news feed, I may not like it, I may not comment on it, I may just glimpse it and just scroll past it real quick, but that will count as an impression. So be very careful with that, because many times people might say, "Oh, we got 500 impression," but that does not mean anything really. Engagement, looking at things like likes and favorites and comments and share, retweets, ratings. You can look at things like return on investment, things like your membership growth, and retention and loyalty. Retention and loyalty. Looking at the satisfaction of your members in terms of how you use social media to engage with them. Next slide, please. Now, the next piece is to once you understand what are your goals, what are your goals for being online, you want to understand people. You need to understand your people, and just like in the pews in the actual church, uh, we have different people at different stages in the spiritual journey. The same thing online, like I said. So you may have members, you may have potential members, people who are becoming members of the church. You may have newly baptized members, people who are considering. Understanding who you're trying to online will help.
Hi, Cameron. You look as if your audio went down again. All right. I guess tonight we're having some real internet struggles. But Cameron was giving a solid presentation for us. So we hope we can get him back on in a bit so that he could continue his presentation.
Tell me, can you hear me? Hello?
All right. So I guess one of the technical persons would try to contact Cameron so that he can, try to fix his audio, maybe his position, so that we can hear him well. Because the information that he is sharing with us tonight is valid and strong, is good information, so that we can have a strong ministry via the internet and social media. So we're asking that you please send in your questions. You could send in your questions on either the Zoom platform, the Q&A, or you could send in your questions on YouTube. And we'll try our best to answer your questions. Remember that this training session happens every first and fourth Monday of the month. So every first and fourth Monday of the month, we will try our best to give you qualified persons in the field. They and myself will be doing some discussing to ensure that you have all the valid information, especially in the context of the church. We have a repertoire of good qualified persons lined up to share with you on various topics. We plan to touch topics like internet, what bandwidth, understanding internet, and what bandwidth do you need in your church in terms of for online streaming and just for normal church services. We will touch topics like church logo, church sign, church websites, how to build your church website, what do you look for in a good and solid church website. We'll also touch church marketing. When you present the gospel, what are some of the things that persons are looking at when we share the gospel? We will touch topics like branding, the Adventist brand. What is it? How do we present the Adventist brand to the public? And how do we sustain a brand? So all of these would be topics that we would be sharing with you. So again, we have a solid series of topics and discussions that we would have with you. All right, so is Cameron Korean back?
Yes, please let me know if you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Let me apologize to everybody who's viewing. I actually just decided to change my device. I'm not sure if it was a device issue, but I switched up my device and it seems like you're hearing me better now. So let's continue.
Yes.
All right. So we were talking about understanding your people. And one of the things that we have to know, just like in the church, we have different people at different stages in their spiritual journey. And our social media activities should reflect that. So whatever it is that we are putting out content related, we should know and understand that we have online engaging and consuming our content. We have members, we have potential members. You may have newly baptized members. You may have someone who is considering baptism, or you may have people who have no connection to the faith, who are non-members. And it will be very important for us to put out content that actually speaks to the different people at the different stages in their spiritual journey. One piece of blanket content for everybody will not work, unfortunately. Next slide, please. So once we understand now who we are trying to reach online with our content and who we're trying to speak to, the next thing is understanding and knowing where exactly they are. Now, you do not, and I need to repeat that, as a church, you do not need to be on every social media platform that exists. There is no need to be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, You don't have to be everywhere. The one thing that you need to understand, however, is you need to be where your target audience is, where your community is, the people you're trying to reach, wherever they are, that's where you need to be. And today is especially some of the major platforms that you can find people on are the Facebook, the LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok is now blowing up online. It's one of the fastest growing social media platform that we have out there now. But if your target audience, the people you're trying to reach, whether it's you're trying to reach your members or whether you're trying to reach your newly baptized members or whether you're trying to reach people who are not affiliated with the faith or with your church, then you need to know exactly where they are. And once you know where they are, then you can create content. Then you can create a strategy that will help you find those people and communicate with them in a way that they want to be communicated with on those platforms. Next slide, please. Content. Once you know where they are online, then it's very important. It's very important to understand your content. What type of content should you be putting out? What kind of strategic approach should you take towards content? Now, it's not enough to just wake up one morning and decide I will post X picture today or I will post this video today. It's not enough. You need to take a strategic approach. Now, one, if you are on multiple social media platforms, then you need to create a content plan for each one of them. Remember, I said initially that we have to respect the context of the platform that we are on because every platform is different. So we have to create a content plan for all the different platforms. We need to establish and maintain a consistent tone of voice. So what is your tone? What is your tone online? Tailor your message to the platform. If you're using Twitter, for instance, then you would know that you can only post captions that are 280 characters or less. If you are on Instagram, then you should know that you cannot post links in your Instagram caption because they are not clickable. So there are different things that you have to understand, and you will tailor your content to the different platforms. In a few minutes, we will speak about the different platforms. Be visual, post with purpose. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then timing. Timing is very important. There is no point posting content when people are not online. So you have to understand your audience, understand who you're trying to reach, and try to know exactly what time those people are online, so that you should be posting at those particular times. And you can find that information in, for example, if you're on Facebook, you can find it in your Facebook Insights. Same thing with Instagram. They all have this analytics back end that will show you information like what days people are online, what time they're online. Next slide, please. Now, all content that is posted should educate or inform, it should inspire or motivate, or it should entertain. And we're going to say, well, this is for churches. Why should we be looking at content that entertains? Well, that will be short-sighted to even think that, because if you can do things like, having a Bible quiz online or Bible boxing. These are all different ways that you can create content to fit one of those three constructs that I have on here. And before you create a post, ask yourself, does it at least do one of those things above? Does it do at least one of those things above? Next slide, please. So what can you share? What can you share? You can share daily scriptures, links to resources, photos from regular meetings or special events, highlight of important causes and events within the community, like and health, some health fair and open air, that type of thing. And you want to respond to important current events that you find happening. Next slide. So what not to share? What not to share? uh, you want to avoid sharing things that promote a leader based on personality. The reason for that is that will create a culture around that person in particular rather than around the church itself. So what I mean by that is if someone wants to, let's say, build their personal brand, then they can build a personal brand. But this, what we're talking about here, is actually around building the church's brand here now. Obviously, you want to avoid controversial statements about political beliefs, and I'm not, and it's not wrong to care about these things. It's not wrong to have an opinion, a political opinion. But generally, social media is not the place to get into a conversation around that as a church. Um, Definitely avoid sharing photos of members of your church without their permission, especially children. And that goes for whether you're a church, a business, a non-profit. It doesn't matter what. You always have to ensure that when you're sharing photos of people, of your members, your employees, if you're in a business, that you have to get their permission. And I know that at the GTA, we would have posted something recently online with some of our members of staff, and I got emails from certain members of staff saying, "Hey, I did not give anybody permission to use my picture, so why is it on there?" And we had to go and actually remove that. So be very mindful of that. Next slide, please. So there is something called the rule of third as it relates to social media, and what it says is 1/3 of your content should be about the church. 1/3 should be about humanizing the church. So I mean, the church, we always say that the church is the people, right? So we want to post content that highlights and showcase the people of the church, and like I said previously, with their permission, of course, and also external content. So when you want to share a scripture, or you want to share something from somebody wrote a nice blog post about one of the events in Revelation, or whatever it is, or somebody posted and made a nice video that you think your target audience could, or your community or your members could benefit from, then you want to share those type of external content. Next slide. Set a budget for social media advertising. Organic is good, but it is not going to cut it anymore. And I think that's one of the opportunities that is missed by many of our churches, is that we tend to focus exclusively on organic social media. And organic social media simply means that you are doing social media without spending any money. And I firmly believe that as a church, as a conference, or whatever it is, that we need to have a budget to ensure that our content stands out above the rest. Now, social media is very noisy. There are millions of pieces of content that are going out there on a daily basis. How do we ensure that the content that we are putting out will stand up above the noise? Social media advertising can actually help with that. Next slide, please. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the platforms. Now on Facebook, we tell stories on Facebook. So definitely, you want to ensure that you have a proper cover photo, a great profile picture. The about section should definitely be completed. Use Facebook ads. I just spoke about that. Make use of Facebook Live. I think the conference in particular is doing a fantastic job where that is concerned. You can share different type of visually appealing content. Facebook is the only platform that allows you to share each and every single type of content you can think about. Links, images, videos, GIFs, or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it. Everything you can share on Facebook. Next slide, please. So how do you use Facebook? You want to create a Facebook business page. You can create a personal profile, but for organizations, it's generally wise to use a Facebook business page. So that's what I would recommend that you do. That's important. Number one, if you want to run any kind of ads, let's say you have a video or you have an event coming up in the community and you want to run an ad to help promote that event in the community, then you will need to have a Facebook business page for that. Ads, ads will keep coming up throughout this presentation because it's very important if we want our message to stand up above the noise. You can use Facebook Messenger to speak to your members in real life and people who might have questions about the faith and what we do. Again, Facebook Live to engage with audience, which the conference does a fantastic job at. And also, I have to shout out my guy Silvanos, who does a great job with the live as well. And on calls to action, using calls to action in your post. So, for example, if you post something, have a call to action telling people to do something. Whether you tell them, you know what, like, comment, share, or you might want to say, oh, go read Genesis X or go read John 3:16 or whatever it is. So have a call to action with different content that you will post. Next slide, please. These are just some examples of some Facebook, some engaging content that you can post on Facebook. So videos right now is the most valuable type of content on Facebook. Focus on providing value in those videos. You can post links, photos, graphics, whether it's a memory verse, a quote, a scripture, stories that highlighting like some of the behind the scenes of your church or behind the scenes of the conference, what happened behind the scenes, church culture. You can go live, you can share photo carousels or photo slideshows, turning your photos into a video. Next one. On Twitter, for those of us who want to use Twitter now, I want to mention something here because up until about a year and some ago, I, as a social media strategist, used to take Twitter for granted in the Caribbean context. Because I used to see, well, I don't see Caribbean people using Twitter a lot. And up until a year and a half ago, maybe just about 2 years, I was proven wrong. There is a huge Grenadian and Caribbean community on Twitter right now. So definitely you would want to consider Twitter as part of the tools that you're going to use for your church if you're using social media. And you will stay updated on what's trending, join conversations on Twitter, use images in your posts. Post with images gets more retweets and more engagement than post without. You can use hashtags, but don't overdo it. And let me just mention something really on Twitter and on Instagram. There is no need to use hashtags on Facebook unless it's a branded hashtag. Hashtags are for discoverability, and there is no discoverable effect on Facebook. So if you use hashtag on Facebook, it has absolutely no effect on your content. But if you use it on Twitter and on Instagram, then your content could get discovered based on the different hashtags that you are using. So that's something important to note. On Twitter, you can create lists. So you can create lists so you can track a collection of users in one place. So you might say, well, I want to create a list of all the churches in Grenada so I can get direct access to the content that they are putting out. You can do that. You want to keep your post short. And on the slide there, it says 100 characters. Right now, you can have up to 240 characters on Twitter. Next slide, please. So on Twitter, you will join existing conversations. You can share your own context on what's happening. Take advantage of trending topics and hashtags, like I said. Now, let me make a note here again, just like I did with the hashtags. Trending topics, unless you have something to add to the conversations, then there is no need to jump in on a trending topic. So, for example, one of the trending topics that has been consistent over the last 2 months or so has been COVID-19. And many people, organizations, businesses have been jumping on the COVID-19 trend hashtag to try to boost their business without really adding anything of value to the conversation. So that's something that we do not want to do, but you would want to retweet, engage, and share community news and content. Next slide, please. So engaging Twitter content, you want to look at content that focuses on utility. So focus on tweeting useful content and helpful content that teaches your audience maybe how to do something. We know that in our churches, we have all kind of different classes, like sewing classes, we might have cooking classes. I know as a little boy growing up, I used when I go into VBS and I'm doing all those little crafts and so so there is nothing wrong with creating content or creating videos showing people how to do one of those things, how to do one of those crafts that we normally teach our kids to make in VBS, for example, right? It's not always content about, well, a Bible verse or something like that. We can expand our content repertoire. Entertaining content, like I said, you might want to do a Bible quiz, right? You know what? Sometimes you put a Bible quiz, you get the answer correct. It makes us feel good. We want to share that positive experience with others, and inspiration. Definitely inspiration. People want to share what piques their curiosity and what inspires them. Next slide, please. On Instagram, we create art. We create art on Instagram. Instagram is a visual platform. It's a visual platform, and it's quickly becoming one of, if not the most important social media platform out there today. Now, you can do photo contests on Instagram. You can engage with your followers and fans. You want to use high quality images, but not images that are overly edited. It needs to be authentic. You want to tell a story with your pictures. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Posting consistently. Posting consistently doesn't mean posting every single day, but it does mean that if you are going to be posting, let's say every Monday, Wednesdays, and Sundays, then you want to maintain that consistency. Again, I spoke about hashtags. Use hashtags, but don't abuse it. Now, you want to use hashtags on Instagram, you can use up to 30 hashtags in your post. You can post the hashtags in the comment. It has the same effect as if you were to post it in the original caption. So there is no need to clutter your caption with hashtags. You can put it in the first comment and it will have the same effect. Now, you do not want to hashtag every word. So for example, hashtag do, hashtag not, hashtag use, hashtag on, hashtag every, hashtag word. That's annoying. So don't use hashtag on every word. Next slide, please. So make use of Instagram ads to reach a wider audience. The good thing about Instagram and Instagram ads is that Instagram is owned by Facebook. So if you want to run an Instagram ad, that ad will be run from inside the Facebook ads manager. Use Instagram stories to broaden your reach. You can put a link to a website in your bio. That's the only place you can put a live link on Instagram, in your bio. High quality images, add call to actions in your descriptions, use IGTV. So on Instagram, you can only post videos that are less than 1 minute. If your video is more than 1 minute, it has to be posted in what we call Instagram TV, IGTV. You can create Instagram story highlights. That's something you definitely want to do. If you want to get more information about that, you can just Google how to create an Instagram story highlight or how to post a video that's more than 1 minute in your IGTV. And like I said, use hashtags for discoverability. Next slide, please. These are just like on Facebook. These are some of the content that we can use on Instagram: photos, graphics, carousels. So I'll just leave that here. It's kind of the same like when we posted on Facebook, right? IGTV video between 60 seconds to 60 minutes. That should not be 600 or 600. That's not a zero, but that should be 60 minutes. And and stories, definitely you want to use Instagram stories on a daily basis. Next slide, please. Right. The anatomy of a post link, and I put that here because Generally, when we post content, like a video or an image or something, we tend to do a good job at that. But one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making online is posting links, and not pretty much not doing uh, any justice to the link that they are posting. So these are some of the anatomy of a link post. One, you want to post a copy that does not duplicate the title of the article. So if you're posting an article and the article is, for example, like I posted one here, it says the perfect social media strategy for Caribbean businesses. That's the title of the article. I would not duplicate that title and put it back in the copy. That doesn't do anything for me. Right? You want to post copy that is not long and exhaustive. Now, you will see I have an asterisk there. The social media experts around the world all advocate for posting copy that is very short and to the point. I have proven time and time again that it doesn't matter the length of the copy. What matters is the story that you're telling. If you're telling a compelling story, then people will actually read everything. It's like you're watching a movie. Movies are now sometimes hour and a half, 2 hours, 1 hour long, and we sit down and we watch it because the story is compelling, it's emotional, and it draws us in. So that's what you want to focus on when you're writing copy. At least that's what I think. Full width images. If you are actually writing an article to publish on, let's say, your blog or something like that, if you have one, or if your church have one, let's say your church have a blog where you talk about different topics, maybe from the Bible or whatever it is, make sure that your images are 1200 by 628 pixels. Have a compelling title. You can tag. I have tagging relevant brands here. So if you have a partnership with other churches, you can tag them. If you're partnering with, let's say, maybe some other organization or brand, you can definitely do that. And again, like I mentioned, no hashtags unless it's for brand personality or an event. So unless you have a hashtag that is for branding purposes. So for example, hashtag Paradise SDA might be a brand specific hashtag for the SDA Church at Paradise. Then we can use that on Facebook. But or let's say we have a big open air in Grenville and you want to use the hashtag Grenville Open Air on Facebook, okay. But unless it's for a brand personality or an actual event, then there is no need to be using hashtags on Facebook. So I know we're coming dangerously close to the end, but I'm about to wrap up now. If you can change the slide for me, please. All right, perfecting your post. You want to be valuable, be interesting, be brief, be visual, and let me go back to be brief real quick. Like I said, I think what's important is the story that you are telling. If you're telling a compelling and emotional story, it doesn't matter how long it is, people will consume it. And be visual, right? Social media, all the different social media platforms right now are visual platforms. And you'll see I have a jab, 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 right hook. Jab, 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 right hook is a concept that was developed by one of the leading social media experts, a guy by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk. And what he says is, provide value, provide value, provide value, and then ask for something. So you're not going, and I think we do a great job at that in when we offline. So if you want to encourage someone to get baptized, for example, you don't see someone sitting by the road, walk up to them and say, hey, come and get baptized. You go, you speak with them, you do Bible study with them, you tell them about the law, you tell them about the good news of Christ. You have that engagement with them first, and then you encourage them to come to church, and then you encourage them to get baptized, right? So even when we do a crusade, for example, on the very first night of the crusade, we don't say, "Hey, come and get baptized." We don't do an altar call, right? We do that after we would have provided, bring the message and provided value to the people that will be at the crusade. It's the same thing online. You don't just go online and say, "Hey, everybody should come to Paradise SDA Church and do whatever. You want to provide them with enough value, provide, and then the right hook now is to ask whatever you want them to do, whether you want to invite them to come to church. Well, I mean, not right now because based on the situation in the world right now, but whether you want to invite them to come to church or whether you want to encourage them to get baptized or you want them to join you on a Bible study or whatever it is. So you want to ask yourself, what exactly are you trying to say? What words will express it? What image will make it clearer? And is that image fresh enough to have an effect? And some of our churches, I know some churches that make an effort, make an attempt online. Sometimes what we find happening is, you post an image and you do not take any. It's like you don't take any care in the image that you're posting. You just get any random image and you just post it. You want to ensure that whatever image you're posting will actually have an effect. Don't post anything that people will just scroll over or just bypass. When people are on social media, they do not necessarily go on there, for example, like on Facebook or on Instagram, looking in particular for, let's say, I want to see what the Grenada Conference posted today, or I want to see what the SDA Church at Paradise posted today, or if it's a business, I want to see what this particular business posted today or this particular brand posted today. They just go there and they're just scrolling through, and your content needs to be able to be fresh enough and clear enough so that it will stop them in their scrolling, stop them in their track while they're scrolling, right? Next slide, please. So, this is one of the things I mentioned at the beginning, and I want to end with it. 3 reasons why people use social media. They use social media to be informed, to stay connected, to be entertained. And at the beginning of the presentation, you will see I had motivate and inspire. They will all fall into one of those contexts here, right? These are the 3 reasons why people use social media. So I think that is the last slide I have. If you can just take it to the next one, right? So any questions that we have, I'll be happy to answer them now. And if you want to, if you wish to, maybe you have a more in-depth or more detailed question, you can feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer, or reach out to Pastor Isidore and he can get it to me and I'll be happy to answer.
All right, thank you so much, Cameron. I think that was a super evangelistic presentation. Thank you so much. We have learned so much this evening. If you have any questions, you could place it in the Q&A section, and I would ask it to Cameron on your behalf. Someone says, while I understand the presenter's point of view, well, that went out, so the technical person will help me send the messages to me. Cameron, you spoke about a few things that the idea of the buyer persona and these kind of things. And you did say that when we need to choose which platforms we are based upon our buyer personas or based upon our target audience. But a church who wants to start a ministry to reach young persons online, what social platform would you suggest?
So that's one of the first. That's the first thing when you're looking at taking a strategic approach. So you need to look at where the young people are online. So, and if you ask them which platforms are you focused on right now. Just based on my understanding of how young people behave online, I know that they are currently using platforms like the Instagrams. Right, so a platform like Instagram is where you will find a lot of our young people. Platforms like some of the emerging ones, like the TikToks. I'm not sure how popular it is in Grenada. I know it's a bit popular. You'll find some of the young people are also on Twitter. There's a large young population on Twitter. Facebook is aging up a little bit, so we do have Facebook is like the master social media platform, is the largest one. So everybody should be on there. independent of who you're trying to reach, because everybody's on there. But it's one of the platforms that is currently aging up, right? So definitely platforms like Instagram, you will want to be on. But because social media changes so much, social media changes are like on a monthly basis or bi-monthly basis, that what might be popular now might not be popular in the next 2 months.
Okay.
That's how fast it changes. That's the reason why you always have to engage with the young people to know where are they online. You have to be in tune with them so you can know where they are online, so you will know that's where you want to be as well.
Okay, so it's not about the church deciding I'm just going to go on Facebook because I believe that's what the young persons are.
No, that should never be the case. Whether it's for a church, a business, or whatever, it should not be based on your feelings. It should be based on what exactly is happening.
Okay, good. Now, the other thing is, Cameron, I have heard some persons share. So, for example, they placed a video up and they have 3,000 views, 4,000 views, and they're excited. What would your advice for them in their level of excitement for the views and so forth?
So, I mean, if you post a video and you're getting views, then I think it's a good thing. I think it shows that the video is engaging. It shows that people actually like the message that you're putting out there. It shows that they're getting value from it. So it's definitely a good thing. And if you're realizing that you would want to do a content audit. That's something I encourage people to do all the time. So after every month, do a content audit and look to see which are some of your best performing pieces of content and provide more of that. So if you realize that when you post X video, that video got a lot more views, a lot more engagement than the other one that you would have posted, then you want to post more of that.
Right. Good. Thank you so much, Cameron. Somebody sent I guess a question or a comment, and you can help us with that. He said, would the presentation be made available to us? Yes, because it's on YouTube, so you can always go back and
yes. And if they are speaking about the slides, then you have the slides, so you can send it out to them. I have no problem with that.
All right, good. So again, I have permission now to send out the slides. Thank you so much, Cameron. The question says, should we address issues expressing the Bible stance on issues such as homosexuality on such platforms?
Absolutely. There is nothing wrong with that. We talk about it in the church. We talk about it in the crusade. We talk about it in the open air. We talk about it. It doesn't matter. So there is nothing limiting us from talking about it online, because that is what we believe. That is the church's stance on it. That is the biblical. That is our biblical stance on it. But we have to ensure to understand that we should not be attacking people. We should be attacking the sin, right? So God loves the person, but he hates the sin, right? So we have to be very mindful that we're not attacking people.
Yeah, fair enough.
But absolutely, you want to talk about it.
Okay, fair enough. Now the other thing is, Cameron, what is the difference between a Facebook group, Facebook page, and what would determine which one somebody uses?
So your Facebook. So these are the different real estates that are available when we're talking about Facebook. So your Facebook page is your open. It's like an open platform where anybody can get on and engage with you, engage with your content, engage with your brand, right? And it's where you can do things like run ads or get a different type of analytics and insights with how people are behaving online as it really when they're engaging with you. Whereas a group now is a more closed environment where you would invite whoever you want to be a part of that community. So the page is more open. Anybody can get on there, anybody can like the page, anybody can comment. Well, unless you block them, anybody can share anything. But in a group, it's more like a closed environment. So you can decide, I want to have something that is just for the members of XX church, or you want something that is just for the heads of departments of like all personal ministries leaders across Grenada. right? If you want that kind of environment on social media, on Facebook, then you want to use a group because it's more controlled. On a page now, anybody can get on there, anybody can be on there, and anybody can see what you're posting. So that's kind of the main thing. One is more private and one is open to everybody.
Okay, good. We'll just think about three more comments. One in Korean, it says, what is the downfall, disadvantage of being on these platforms?
The downfall and disadvantage of being on the platforms. Well, this is my thought on that. The platforms are just tools that we can use to achieve something, to do something. So I don't think that there is anything bad or inherently bad or negative about the platforms themselves. What we find bad or where we normally find the disadvantage and the downfall is in our use of those platforms. So for things like you'll find people being bullied online, right? That's a downfall of using the platform. But that's because someone chose to be a bully on those platforms. You will find that people tend to waste a lot of time. For example, if something to try, the Facebook newsfeed, it never ends. It never ends. You can try it, you will never get to the end of the Facebook newsfeed because it's continuous. It keeps continuously populating with content. So sometimes we tend to waste a lot of time on there. Platforms like YouTube, right, or even like Netflix and so, where you watch a video and automatically another one starts loading for you to watch again. So this is another platform. It tends to you tend to waste a lot of time. Sometimes our data is used in ways that we do not want. I mean, I think everybody will have seen the whole issue with Cambridge Analytica and the whole scandal in terms of how our data was used with the US election and so on and so forth, right? So these are some of the downfall. You know, our privacy is out there, but it all has to do with it all has to do with our use of those platforms. The platforms themselves are not inherently bad.
Right, fair enough. One person said most small churches think using internet is a devil's advocate and is a no-no, but in light of this pandemic, social media is a lifesaver for many people. So how can we engage our church in the new age of social connections?
So that's a question that I get, for example, from business as well. How can we convince our directors and our seniors that we need to be using social media? And it goes back to the first thing I said: the ultimate attention. The ultimate attention in today's digital landscape is attention. Sorry, the ultimate asset is attention. And if we want to capture the attention of the young people, we want to capture the attention of our members and keep them engaged, then we need to be where they are. And if let's say maybe the leadership of the church or so have an issue with that, then you can say, okay, fine, let's do it as a test run. Let's do a 3 months test of how we can use these platforms and see if we can really use it to engage. But ultimately, it goes back to understanding who we are trying to reach and whether or not these people are online, whether they are spending time online, and what platform do we need to use to engage with them online. It goes back to attention. Where is the attention? If the attention is online, unfortunately, that's where you have to be.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. All right, so last thing, we won't touch all the questions tonight. I know that you wouldn't mind coming back, to discuss with us again.
Absolutely not, yeah.
But you touched the idea of call to action, and you said that it's always wise to place call to action on our content. Would you like us to touch on that a little again?
Yes. What I mean by a call to action is pretty much asking your audience, your community, to do something, to take some kind of action. When you post something, that post should be engaging enough to want to move somebody to action. And especially from the church's standpoint, where we know using social media to the Bible tells us, the Lord tells us, we need to go out and preach the gospel in all the world, right? So and social media is really aiding our ability to do that, right? So when you post something, in order to know and really get a grasp for whether or not people are actually finding value in what you're doing or what you're saying, what you're posting, the videos, the images, you want to ask them to take small actions, whether you might say like this post, or like if you agree, right? Or comment yes or no if you agree with this, right? And then when you do that now, it gives you a bit of an idea as to how people view what you're saying, whether they're finding value from it. Or you might say, you know what, send us a DM if you want more. Send us a direct message if you want more. Somebody might do a nice little sonnet, and you might say, if you want to hear more, then sign up to our weekly youth live on Fridays, right? This kind of getting into this kind of micro actions. So that's really actually what I'm talking about here.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Cameron, thank you so much for being with us this evening. I think our participants learned so much this evening. The next time when Cameron comes, we'll let you know. He will be dealing with in-depth the KPIs and how to use the various tools to analyze your social media platforms. Please remember, we are here every first and fourth Monday of the month. Through our director, Pastor Scott, he will send out the links and so forth. Please invite a friend. If our space on the Zoom platform is filled, you can join us as well on YouTube. Cameron, as we end, do you have any final words you'd like to share with our leaders?
Yes. First of all, again, thank you for allowing me to be on here and to share my thoughts on social media and social media use within the church with everyone. If you have any, if there are any questions that were not answered, then I guess you can send them to me, and I can send a response. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can find me at Kimron Korean everywhere online. And I can, if there was any questions that were not answered on that front. But I want to just encourage us. Social media is not something that we should look down on. It's not something that is just a young people thing. When our church members, the young people in our church, everyone, they're all online. We're all online, and when we are online, the type of content that people tend to engage with is sometimes it's not content that will aid into with your spiritual development. And if we are not online to help balance the type of content that we will see our members, our young people engaging with, if we decide we are going to stay away from social media, then what we are doing is we are opening the floodgates. We are leaving it open for our young people, our members to consume a host of what I call spam content that does nothing for the spiritual development. So we need to ensure that we are where our members are, our young people are, our newly baptized are. We need to be there where they are to reinforce and help them with their spiritual development by giving them and providing them with content that will help them develop, and not leave them to just consume, or leave them to the world, where the world will pretty much take them and mold them using all those negative and derogatory type of content that we find going out there, that will add no value and does nothing for the overall spiritual development.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, Cameron, thank you so much for being with us. Next time, you'll be with us as we go a little in depth into KPIs and so forth.
Yes, data and analytics. I'm pretty excited about that. So Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much. So let's pray. Loving Father, Lord, we thank you, Lord, for Cameron, and we, Lord, that you use him to share with us a little about the social media sites and platforms. I pray, Lord, you continue to bless him as a young man as he continues to work for you. I pray, Lord, that you would bless our director, Pastor Scott, and his entire team. And Father, all those that he's leading, Father, that we, Lord, as your children, would be able to use these tools to spread the gospel. Father, bless our families. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Again, we thank our director, Pastor Scott, for allowing us the privilege to have this medium and this platform to share these tips with you. Again, go therefore. Let us do what God has told us to do, and it is to share the gospel. Let's use social media as one of the tools in sharing the gospel. May God bless you and have a wonderful